What's up, everybody? I'm going to be doing some technical analysis. The people that are going to be tuning in live, they're going to be right here. Nothing special in this video. Just if you guys ever need help or are having trouble doing some technical analysis or focusing on stocks that are actively trending up, then that's all I'm going to be doing today. So this is my one of my roommates, Phil. So Phil helps me buy and resell cars. Absolute savage when it comes down to the buying and reselling of cars. I'm going to start sharing my screen. I'm using the TD Ameritrade Thinkorswim platform. My name is Gutierrez. I have a little bit over 140,000 subscribers within my YouTube platform. I have a little bit over 95,000 members within my free trading community. It's the third link in the description, and I do like wearing neck pillows. If you don't like it, then you simply don't have to have one. But yeah, let's go ahead and start doing some breakdowns. Hope you guys enjoy. If you guys do, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up. And I hope you guys are all having an amazing Thursday. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, here we go. Can you turn it down a little bit? All right, sweet. So let's go ahead and do some breakdowns. I'm going to be talking about some stocks, about 10, that are actively trending up. Why is it that I see value in them, and where I would look for entry points, potential entry points. Not only are we going to be talking about stocks that are actively trending up, but I also want to talk about opportunity costs. I've done this multiple times before. A lot of people sometimes have a difficult time understanding when to take a position because sometimes the stock might be way overextended. It might not be a good deal. So it's great that you identified a stock that's actively trending up. It's great that you've been able to identify support and resistance. Now, the last thing that I would like you to ask yourself is this a good deal? Is it still worth the risk, right? And that's exactly what we're going to cover. Let me just make sure that this is all set to go. I'm going to move it like this. I'm going to move this a little bit like that. Let's see. All right, we're good like that. So, all right. The first one, let's go ahead and get started. So this is ESV. ESV, we talked about this one, if I'm not mistaken. Was this one of our top calls for this week? It was not one that I talked about on YouTube. It was one that we covered in the Learn Plan Profit group. That's my private group. That's the first link in the description if you guys want to look a little bit more into that. But pretty much, there's this very horizontal pattern. I focus on ascending uptrend patterns and horizontal patterns. And although it has progressively been ascending within the past 2 to 3 weeks, do you guys see this very consistent uptrend? This is a beautiful example of what an ascending uptrend pattern is supposed to look like, with the EMA acting as a support. RSI is indicating that it's a little bit more on the overbought side, no question about that, and we're getting very close to the earnings report. So if you guys did not watch a video, did not watch today's earlier video, be sure to check that one out. It talks about like my worst trade for this 2018, and you guys can check it out. So what it comes down to is that there's this margin from around $5 to $6. We could see that it's surpassing, like, first of all, this is the very common margin on where it normally trades at, right? There's another margin that we could see that it's hit highs of 750, right? So there's no question about that it could continue to actively trend up. Just based on previous patterns, is that very likely? It's possible, but is it very likely? Especially as we're getting closer to earnings reports, right? Looking at how it normally acts, so last time it had its earnings, it didn't hit its expectation, but it still ended up being able to recover. But again, it was at such a low price point when it was at that price, right? Same thing happened as we were approaching the earnings here, right? It didn't hit its expectation, so it has a pattern to not hit its expectation, and then this time it actually did have a sell-off. So just note that that's not going to be very helpful. And based on the previous patterns on, seeing that, hey, it hasn't hit its earnings report, right? It didn't hit its expectations. Now, looking at where it's at right now and then the earnings coming up, it's most likely a smart thing to do that if it's not going to hit its expectation and then it tends to have a sell-off, that you probably don't want to hold this thing over earnings, right? It is actively trending up, and I know a couple of our traders are still investing in this one. All I want to do is to expose you to the idea that, hey, this might not be such a good deal anymore. It might start to reverse. As long as it continues this uptrend pattern, then I'm all for it. I just want to remind you that its earnings report is coming up. So as you continue to swing trade it, great. As long as it continues this uptrend pattern and continues to validate this EMA line as a support, I'm all for it. But just watch out for the earnings, because by holding it overnight, then you run the risk of this thing having a drastic sell-off and you not being able to do anything until the market open and then end up being red, right? So let's make sure that we trade smart and that we focus on, covering profits when we see that it might be a little bit overextended. If after earnings it continues to trend up and we see it hold above $6, then we can revisit this one next week and see if it can continue to trade from $6 to $7.50. It'll just be something that I have to follow up with. Ticker symbol OAS. So OAS has been actively trending up. It offers a pretty horizontal pattern as well, from the margins of $8 to about $10. Asking yourself, it's been actively trending up. Again, a perfect example of what has been actively trending up, right? With the very nice 180-day EMA support. Very easy to see that, right? We can see that it's a little bit on the overextended side. So ask yourself, it's been actively trending up. Great. You identify that. Do you understand the pattern? It's a horizontal pattern. Great. That's part two. Then the last part, is this a good deal? Right? You're trying to find a good point to potentially enter. And when looking at this, I could be like, hey, well, I can wait for a sell-off. I could wait for a bounce on the EMA and then try to ride it up. It offers about 3.41% to the resistance at around $10. And then you just have to ask yourself, is this the best deal that I can find right now? Looking at previous patterns, it's not a deal. All you would be, the reason that I would take a position if it were to bounce on the EMA is because of the continuous uptrend pattern, but knowing that I'm running the risk of trading something that is overextended, that it's not a good deal, that's a little bit more on the overbought side. So as long as you understand that risk, then make sure you take that into consideration as when it comes down to potentially wanting to swing trade this one, so holding it overnight, that you understand that this is overextended and that it might just be a matter of time for this thing to start to reverse. Very simple pattern, right? Let's go ahead and talk about JNUG. Very similar pattern, ascending uptrend pattern, has been actively trending up and validating and holding above this EMA, right? One thing that we can see is that it's definitely overextended. The RSIs have been making lower highs, right? And looking at the overall future for /GC, so if you don't know the correlation between /GC and the JNUG and JDSC ETF, you might want to do a little bit more research on this. /GC has been showing signs of this descending pattern. It's now actively trending down below this 180-day EMA, which is not in favor of the overall pattern for JNUG. It's showing that, hey, it might be time to cover profits on JNUG as it's been actively trending up, and we might see this curling pattern. Again, we might want to wait for the confirmation for JNUG to show the same pattern as /GC, but just again, food for thought. Make sure that if you are holding and swing trading JNUG, that you take into consideration that it is overbought. Yes, it is actively trending up, and yes, it's a pretty consistent pattern. But is it a good deal? And is it still smart to hold and swing trade this one? There's nothing wrong with day trading it as it's actively trending up, right? You don't really run much of a risk because you can either cut losses right away or cover profits all intraday. But if you're swing trading this, then it might not be the best investment as it's not a good deal, right? It's only a matter of time for this thing to start getting rejected, especially as the /GC pattern already shows that it's already showing signs of a downward pattern. Looking at the 1 day, 1 minute chart, we can see a pretty solid sell-off, right? And it did this yesterday and then ended up recovering pretty much all day today, and it stayed pretty horizontal. Let's just take into consideration that, again, forget about where you got in, forget about all that like nonsense and all emotions, and just ask yourself, how do you see the patterns, right? It's actively trending down, right, on this 180-day chart. It's showing signs of this descending pattern, and then we could see that JNUG is a little bit overextended. Not a little bit, it's way overextended. Based on this 180-day analysis, based on like the past 3 months, it's at almost or past 2 months, it's almost at a 2-month high. Let's make sure that we realize that. So again, just food for thought. Next one is Macy's. This is actually one that we called out. And we called it out when it was breaking above $29. That's actually the confirmation that we were waiting for. This thing actually ended up being able to hit highs of $30 yesterday since our call out when it was at $28. You guys can watch the video that I made about 3 days ago. It has about 13K views so far. And people really liked it because, again, all I was focusing on stocks that were actively trending up. And this is just it. This is Macy's, a multi-billion-dollar company. The EMA line has been acting and validating its support. How do we know that? We can see it here. We can see it here. We can see it here, right? We could see it multiple times. And it's very simple, I think, to understand this pattern. Now it's actively trending up above this 180-day EMA, so that's good. And just ask yourself, are you getting a good deal? Well, I would like to get to as close to as possible to the SMA and the EMA, right? With that understanding, knowing that the resistance is at about right now $30, that's about 3%, not the best margin, right? But then the overall resistance at around $31 is about 6.42%. For those that are busy and for those that don't have a lot of time to day trade, that might have day jobs or are going through school, then this might be something that you might want to look into. Make sure that you set your alerts, make sure that you do your technical analysis, make sure that you understand the pattern that you see value in. So if there is a break of pattern, that you can either cut losses or cover profits. So again, just food for thought, actively trending up, showing signs of a continuous uptrend. The margin of profit is decent and it's gradually growing, right? So if you're comfortable with swing trading and you understand and believe in the pattern, then great. So the next one that we called out, this one actually was another one that I called out on Monday, and it was waiting for the break above $40. It ended up hitting highs of almost $54. That's almost 10% growth. Ask yourself, how's your account? It's 8% growth. How's your account grown 8%? We talked about this one way in advance. It was showing signs of this bull flag pattern with the resistance at around $39. It broke above that and started actively trending up. right? Amazing. It's been holding and doing a very good job holding above this 180-day EMA. The only thing that I want you guys to ask yourself is, hey, it has its earnings, excuse me, as it has its earnings coming up, and then also the resistance that you're going to start seeing at about every $2 price point. So there's a previous support, which is going to be a resistance that it had at $40. Then there's going to be a support that's going to most likely try to build at around 42, a resistance at 44, and then a resistance at 46. Understand those margins and understand where it is that you're getting in and how it's actively trending up. Again, just be smart, plan out your trade ahead of time, and ask yourself, is this a good deal and is it worth trading? If so, set up a plan and then take action. Okay, so and CPG, I don't know if CPG was one of the ones that we talked about this week, but this one has been showing signs of an ascending uptrend pattern. I've talked about CPG multiple times with the overall horizontal pattern that it has to offer from around 640 to the overall resistance at around $8. You can see that it is way on the overextended side, has its earnings coming up, and you can see that it is hitting somewhat of a peak. So with that understanding, you just have to ask yourself, is this a good deal? If not, and you want to trade it more based on the pattern of this ascending uptrend pattern, then make sure you keep a very close eye for the bounce on this EMA, just like it did last time. So again, perfect example of what a pullback confirmation looks like. Pulled back, bounce on the EMA, and then continue that uptrend pattern. Perfect example, right? And then that's exactly what I'm going to be waiting for this time. I can set my alert here for there to be this pullback confirmation. So let's go ahead and set our alerts. And then once it pulls back, and if it bounces on this EMA line, so again, the alert is just to remind me, hey, there might be a pullback here. It might be time to revisit CPG. If it starts to confirm that EMA and it starts to actively trend up again, then I just have to ask myself, is the margin from $8.20 to overall highs of about $9, because that's the last time that it peaked out there, is that margin worth it? 9.64%. It might be, understanding that this stock is way overextended, right? So again, it's not that you're getting a good deal, it's that you're following and trading the pattern. So you just have to be very on edge about that. So the next one is ticker symbol TELL. We talked about this one when it was at the $9 price point. It's around $9.90. I actually talked about this one earlier today. Very horizontal pattern from around $9 to $12, right? We called it out when it was about to approach and the break above $9. It broke above that, and it's gapped up over 10%. Again, I talked about this one on Monday, right? Over 10%. It's been actively trending up. It looks a little bit overextended right now, in my honest opinion. I would like to get a little bit closer to this EMA line. So what I can do is I can simply set my alerts and wait. And if it gets close to it and then it bounces at the EMA line, great, I can take a position. But if it doesn't bounce, it doesn't pull back, and if it doesn't bounce, then I don't have to take a position. Again, invest when it meets your criteria and when you see value in it and when you understand the pattern, not just because of the heck of it, right? Not just because I'm talking about it, not just because you just want to trade for whatever. Make sure that you understand the pattern and that it makes sense to you. Let's see. All right. Actually, I just realized that my microphone is over here. Let me know, for those that are tuning in live, if you guys can hear me any better now. Just that I'm a little bit closer. What's going on, Mohammed? He is going a million miles per hour compared to this one. I'm really sorry. I don't mean to be speaking that quick. I'm sorry. I'll try to slow down a little bit. Okay. Can hear you a little bit better. Okay. Sold TEL at 12% today. What's going on, Ray? Congrats on that. Loud and clear. Appreciate that. Much better. All right, much louder. Great. Sorry about that, guys. So I talked about the pattern on TELL, right? With the margin from $9. It's not even the margin. It's like, it bounced down here, right? And then it started actively trending out. But the very consistent pattern that I've previously traded before is the margin from $9 and $12. That is what I'm comfortable with and what I've known TELL for. So with that understanding, it's actively trending up and validating this EMA line. So I just have to ask myself, I can wait for a pullback confirmation. I understand that it has all this margin that I can capitalize on, right? So a little bit over, a little bit under 35% potential for profit. I need to wait for it to perform the way that it's been performing. And then if it does, great, I can take advantage of it. And there's still this margin that I still have to make a profit off of. If it does, great. If it doesn't, and there's a break of pattern, then I can cut losses. Man, I'm speeding up again. I'm sorry. Do I speak quick? I didn't think so. So the next one is ENPH. This is actually one that was recommended by one of our members within Learn Plan Profit. That's our private group, and it's been actively trending up. It's been validating this SMA line pretty well, right? It had this reversal pattern. It bounced at around $4 and then started actively trending up above this 180-day EMA. The overall resistance at around $5. It's actively trending up, so you just have to ask yourself, can we wait for a pullback confirmation? It's pretty overextended right now. So what if we wait for a pullback confirmation at around, like, let's say 430 to 450, right? And as we get that confirmation, we can revisit the idea of trading it from after it confirms and starts to actively trend up again from around 440 to around $5 for a 10% plus margin of profit. So again, if it pullbacks and bounces, great. Another thing that it can do is it can continue to make highs of day, and that's something that I cover, a pattern that I cover on how to profit off of in the Learn, Plan, Profit lesson library, and how is it that I do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an alert if it makes highs of day. And I'm also going to set an alert if there's a pullback confirmation or a pullback, which then I can revisit to see if it confirms this EMA line as this ascending uptrend pattern. So that's what I would like to do. JDST. JDST is going to be one that's going to be pretty exciting tomorrow if this pattern holds for /GC. So /GC, again, it's currently getting rejected and trending down after market hours, but it doesn't really mean anything how it trades after market hours or during extended hours, because if by tomorrow, right? So it could dip all the way down to $1,300 flat. But then if it recovers all the way back up by the time the market opens to where it closed at, which is around 1348, then we missed out on the potential, right? So that's why let's follow up with this one. We want to make sure that we see /GC to continue to trade between the middle VWAP and bottom VWAP, showing signs of a descending pattern in favor of JDST and the ascending uptrend pattern that we hope to see. Very simple. So Gush has been consolidating. It had its first red day in many days, right? And looking at this 20-day analysis, we can see a lot of consolidation happening. Same thing with /CL. So this is just food for thought. We might want to, again, this thing is showing signs of a potential reversal and why it might get rejected by this 180-day EMA. No, I'm sorry, this 1 hour EMA. The 180-day EMA, it's still trading above that, which it can still validate this and continue to trend up. So what we're going to want to see is for this thing to break below that pattern. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I just got a Snapchat. Let's see from who. Okay, it's not important, and I got distracted. Okay, so this is ticker symbol SEND. SEND. What the heck? It's ticker symbol SEND. Okay, so it's actively trending up. You can see that the overall SMA indicator is a pretty, just drawing this like what's it called, ascending support line. It's pretty easy to see on where the support is, and then being able to understand that it's an ascending uptrend pattern. There's slight consolidation happening at around $28. I do want to let you guys know that it does have pretty low volume. So that's something that you want to take into consideration, but it has a very gradual growth. So if anything, you don't have to trade it, but just try to do a technical analysis and see if this pattern makes sense to you. Understand because of low volume, it has a lot of volatility as it continues to push up. So take that into consideration. So this is not one that I would invest a lot of money into. And also, it reacts to the EMA line pretty well, at least it did last time. So as it continues to trend up, try to get in close or try to understand that, we want to see a tight bounce at around the EMA line, and then for it to continue that uptrend pattern with the resistance first at around $30 and then the following one at around $32. So again, just wanted to plant the seed on that. I did call out on our what's it called? So VZ, we called it out at the break above $48, and it's been actively trending up. It hit highs of 49, right, from our call out, right? It ended up bouncing here and was able to cover to highs of about 49. The margin wasn't huge; it was a little bit under 4%, but in reality, it was still something. But if you don't see value in this pattern, 100%. I totally understand. It's not one that I saw too much value in, and the reason why is because the resistance that it has around 49.50, 49.250 is a little high or a little difficult to pass, and also has its earnings report coming up pretty soon. And I don't know. Last earnings report, Verizon did pretty well in, but then it also pulls back pretty hard within the next couple of days after the volume or that earnings catalyst ends up dying out. So, yeah. I want to give a shout out to all those that made money on DGAS today. So I don't know if you guys saw, but DGAS was one of my top call outs this week. The one that I traded. I actually ended up selling yesterday at, I think it was like a little bit below 27, a little bit above 27.50. You guys can watch my video yesterday. I traded live, a little bit over $500 profit that I made. I missed out on about, it hit highs of almost $30 today, and I missed out on about, what was it, like $1,600 profit, almost $2,000. So it's all part of the game. I identified the pattern. That's what's the important part. I just covered profits because the market's been a little bit volatile, and I just didn't feel comfortable holding. And I missed on that opportunity, but I have a pretty good setup for tomorrow, and I'm pretty comfortable with that. So just trying to stay positive. So that is pretty much it. All right, let's see. Let's see. So Austin Lopez, how do you determine if a pullback is a confirmation or a Well, that's something that you have to become familiar with. You have to look at the previous patterns and look if it's ever done pullback confirmations. So we did a couple technical analysis, like something like CPG. That was a perfect example of something that was actively trending up. It pulled back, it bounced on the EMA line, and then continued to trend up. So it's known to have that pattern. There's some stocks that don't have really pullback confirmations. So on those, you're going to have to trade based on the technique of like highs of day, right? So when it breaks, and makes new highs, then you can kind of trade based off of that pattern and see if you can get comfortable with that. Make sure that you try out simulation trading to test the waters before you invest real money. So Colton Jennings is saying, love your videos. Thank you guys. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. So Savagery Outdoors is saying, amazing course. I appreciate that. So where do I get news on stocks? So I think our overall group, so I think for TechBot Solutions, Lupo and Ferris and all the people that are part of our TechBot Solutions trading community and the private Discord chat that we have going on there, doing an amazing job sharing news and information there, as well as I have TD Ameritrade and I can look at the news for the stocks or ETFs that I'm trading, which are relevant. But I'm more a technical trader, so I focus much more on technical analysis. So gold is going to 1280 rock floor. Well, I don't know about that, but so JDST looking for a swing trade. I am very interested in JDST and in one other stock that I don't necessarily want to talk about right now, just because of there being a lot of hype behind it, and I don't want to act as a catalyst for that. So I want to follow up tomorrow and then next week, and I want to be patient and make sure that we wait for the confirmation. So did go to PSA and perfect. Thanks, brother. Of course. So, what is it? What is your name? Nemanja is saying, where can I see all your losses and gains? Well, that is my brokerage account, and I do follow-ups on my overall trades if you watch me trade live. So, again, don't focus on what it is that I make. I do just find myself, and I do weekly breakdowns on how much money it is that I made that week. But again, how much money it is that I make does not influence or help you out in any way. So focus on trading patterns that make sense to you and what makes sense to you. I'm not asking you to trade based on my opinion or anything like that. So Logan Manskill. So how do you stay motivated? I'm losing motivation to study. So that's because you're probably overwhelming yourself when you're just getting started. And that's something that a lot of people do in the very beginning. So you overwhelm yourself with so much information when you're just getting started, and unfortunately, it tends to overwhelm someone. And because of that, I would much rather have someone focus maybe like 1 hour or 30 minutes every single day, 5 days out of the week, to learn something new. And also, the people I've been blessed that I surround myself with, all my roommates, we do very well and we work very well together. So it's always the motivation that's the most difficult part. Just make sure that you surround yourself with people that are doing well and that make you a better person as well. So that's why we have the TechBot Solutions trading community. But try to see if you can get in contact with someone that you can meet in person or something like that. Maybe a friend that you can get into trading, and you guys can be like trading buddies or something like that. Or they can do their own venture, but that you guys are holding one another accountable. You finally changed your shirt, man. What happened? Oh, you punk. I wear like the same shirt every single day. Guys, because we have the TechBuds apparel, I wear like the same TechBud shirts like almost every single day. I mean, they're new ones, but yeah, you're ridiculous. So this is actually a really good question. Would you say technical analysis is more you focus as compared to reports or news or something like that? So I think what you're trying to ask is, do I focus more on technicals or do I focus more on news? Well, based on my style being technical, like solely being on like technical analysis, I try to have a general understanding of overall market conditions, and I've said that multiple times. But I also want to make sure that you know, I know that news and certain fundamentals can outweigh technicals when they're very relevant, but overall technicals tend to take over after that news catalyst dies out. So yeah. Where can I get a TechBuds neck pillow? Coming soon. No, just kidding. Do you follow Clay Trader? No, I don't. I don't follow. I'm part of my TechBuds Solutions trading community. I'm part of my Learn Plan Profit lesson library, and that's all I follow. I don't follow anybody else. I don't need anybody else. I'm doing just fine with who it is that I surround myself with, and we're doing just fine as well. So, yeah. How many hours of sleep do you get? I've actually been doing a little bit better. So something that I've been doing is I usually get about 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. I usually fall asleep at around like 2, and then I wake up at around, depending on if it's 5:30 or 6 o'clock for market open at 6:30. But what's it called? Something that I've been doing is I've been taking a 1 hour nap throughout the day. So I take either a 30-minute nap after I do like some calls or something like that, or after my meetings in the morning and stuff like that. So update on the TechBuds HQ. So we're still looking to close on our house first, and then we'll keep you guys up to date with that. So. All right, guys, so I don't want to take too much of your guys' time. This video was really just more for me to do some technical analysis. I was kind of just hanging out with the boys, and they actually just came home and stuff like that. So I still have a little bit of work that I still have to do. I have to respond to a lot of Discord messages. Please, if you guys are direct messaging me within Discord, please try to refrain from asking me to do any technical analysis and stuff like that. Like, please save those for these live videos. I get a lot of questions on people asking me like some random stuff that can be easily answered on YouTube and stuff like that. So please take into consideration that I get over like 400 to 500 messages every single day, and it's very difficult for me to keep up with them since it's me responding to them if you're messaging me through Discord. So I do want to thank you guys again for your time. All the links are down below. If you guys want to stay connected to our free trading community, that's the third link. If you guys want to watch me trade live and learn everything it is that I know about investing in the stock market, you guys don't have to, but it's the first link in the description. And we have a couple thousand members that we work with every single day, and you get to speak to me, you get to watch me trade, and I do a series of technical analysis in the very morning and stuff like that. But yeah, that is pretty much it. So I am addicted to trading. Sounds good. So hope you guys all have a beautiful rest of your Thursday. And that is pretty much it. Just, again, don't overwhelm yourself. I went through a series of 10 stocks. That doesn't mean that you have to focus and watch all those 10 stocks. Pick one or two for the next week that you see value in, that you potentially want to trade, and focus on that. Again, the most difficult part is always getting started. So focus on getting the ball rolling, focus on percentage growth, and just focus on growing your account. Minimizing losses, growing your account. Even if it's 1%, 2%, 3% week after week, just ask yourself. You're not here to prove yourself to me. You're not here to prove to yourself to the people next door. You're here to prove to yourself that you can grow your account. Focus on consistency. Focus on growing your account, because a lot of people have not been growing their accounts. So focus on first growing your account, and then focus on how much it is that you can grow it. So first focus on staying green, and then focus on how much green you can make per week, and then approaching it with more sub goals like that. Yeah, that is really just it. So George Vela, what's going on, brother? So hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. I'm done with my neck pillow. All right, guys, take it easy, team. We'll see you guys tomorrow.